scar on my eyebrow on this thing.
It's that fight you got
I
into.
like how you
Yeah,
started
yeah,
with that.
right. Yeah, yeah, we're starting with that now. We're live, man.
Yeah, we're live.
We're live. We got a special guest with us. Ignore that.
Mm-hmm.
Ignore me. Get out of here.
Yeah, we got a special guest with us today. He is longtime listener, first time caller, Aaron Wondra.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here today.
Yeah, man. We're super. Get out of here. I don't care about the new pages experience. How many of you guys are just annoyed by this new Facebook? If you have a page on Facebook, right? It's literally the most annoying thing. It like basically
yeah.
it tries to make it look like your page is your profile. So it gets rid of all of the cool things that you can do to your page that you run. And they also got rid of, so this will still show because I didn't update it. It'll show how many people like it, but they're actually getting rid of that. It's just how many people follow your page. But it's the same thing, but they're just turning it to Twitter now. So all right, got that shared. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got my good friend here, Aaron Wondra. Yeah, you have to.
Not this one.
It's tight quarters in here. I know this backdrop looks a little weird right now, but hey, it's the cleanest thing I have right now. But yeah, man. So Aaron, I've talked about him multiple times on here. He is the. We worked overnight for 2.5,
2.5, yeah,
2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, together on the morning show for the news station that we worked at. I still do, and he's gone on to other things. But man, we really grew quite a bond over that.
Yeah, I mean, being together by yourself for 8 hours a day, basically, for the most part. How could we not?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of good stories to tell. It's going to be a lot of fun. But we also have things that we want to talk about that are current and happening right now. Unfortunately, in this, I know you can kind of lay the foundation there, man.
Yeah, no. So, first we're probably going to go ahead and talk about some unfortunate events that have been happening lately. First, there was a man who got arrested in Collin County. Sorry.
No, you're good, man.
No, sorry. A man who got arrested in Collin County for having marijuana possession, but then he had while he was in custody, he had a mental crisis. And we're still kind of getting details on the whole situation, but essentially, while he was in jail, he ended up dying. So we're going to kind of talk about that situation, but really more along the lines of like how something like that could happen. It hits a little bit close to home, and then of course, we're also going to talk a little bit about the situation in Georgia, where a man went on like a shooting spree. And kind of how I think the big thing about that is because I know everyone's already probably heard a lot about it. And the biggest thing about it is more along the lines of how the police department dealt with that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to have Aaron here.
Mm-hmm.
He's been one of my best friends for a long time, even though, there's a lot of time that has gone by that we haven't been able to see each other just because of work or COVID, especially family. I'm half vaccinated now. We can talk about that. I signed up after Denison and got my first dose before Denison. Really? Yeah. But that's a different population.
Yep.
And the fact that no one here wants to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
It's kind of weird. But you know what's funny? Actually, I'll say this before we actually start recording here. Johnson & Johnson is now available through the county now. You can select a different appointment to make for that. Okay.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, and single dose. Guess what? Those all filled up in an hour.
I figured.
my mom's been one of those people that have been waiting for the Johnson & Johnson to hit Kansas.
So why is that though?
So the way she explained it to me, and with my pharmacy background, it's a 1-dose shot, so you only have to deal with it once.
Yeah.
And then B, it went through a little bit more, development where it's more like a normal vaccine than more than the other two. And on top of that, at the same time, they're all not approved, they're emergency.
Yeah.
So that's why, I feel like a lot of people are skeptical. You do have the population that is like, give it to me. But then at the same time, I think it's reasonable to you can't have long-term testing on something that's only been here for, you know what I mean? Only been around for 5 months or whatever it's been since they've approved it. I guess it's not 5 months or whatever.
No, you're right. I mean, what I've learned is like Pfizer and Moderna use this newer, I guess you would call it newer development tactic, a newer technology, where it uses messenger RNA. So your RNA instead of your DNA, it basically tells the RNA, hey, this is what you would come into contact with, and here's how to battle it. Whereas, like you said, with the Johnson & Johnson, it's more like the flu shot.
Yeah, exactly.
So it gives you a little bit of it, and then you build up immunity to it. But to me, that would mean you'd have to get that single dose on a fairly regular basis, right?
That's where I feel like that's what the vaccine's going to ultimately be. Yeah. Until I don't know if it's going to settle down. You know?
I think eventually we'd get herd immunity, kind of like overall with the flu. A lot of the flu.
Yeah. Well, I think experts are still out on that too. That's the thing, because I think a lot of experts are saying like it not the herd immunity thing, but it's more along the lines of like how quickly the strains are kind of changing and how quickly it spreads. Like by the time that you get to herd immunity, there could be a newer strain that is still being, very effective. Or I should say the vaccine is still very effective, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's still a little bit of it's something dealing along the lines of we're just going to have to this is going to be a part of our daily, or not daily, that sounds terrible. Our yearly flu shot, right? I think they were going to eventually get to a point where they'll be able to integrate the flu shot. It's kind of like how our current flu shot tends to have immunity for multiple strains of the flu. It's not just like one. So essentially they're going to try to combine it into one.
When's the last time you got a flu shot though?
I've gotten a flu shot every year since I got out of college.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, in college I was that person. Oh, I got the flu shot. I got real sick,
Yeah.
And they made me get it as a football player, and so after that I didn't do it. But then once I got out, I've been doing it. Since, so.
What about you, man? When was the last time you got it?
I, for the most part, gotten it every year since probably getting out of college, maybe a little bit into college. I mean, my mom's a nurse, so she's been pretty adamant on it. So for the most, actually, to be honest, I think I've almost got it almost every year, but
really?
Yeah, no, my mom, like I said, my mom's very, she's a nurse, so she's very adamant on it. She's like, it works. Get it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense for you not to, especially since insurance pays for it.
Right. And even with you get the shot, you still have the possibility of getting sick, but it definitely hikes it up there. So at the same time, you're going to get these shots, but at the same time, you may get it. You're going to be the super minority, of that, but there's still the chance. So when those chances come out of those people getting sick still, they're one and whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A friend of ours actually, her mom got it after getting her first dose of the Pfizer vaccine.
Well, you have to get both doses.
You do. You have to. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I don't know. I haven't gotten my flu shot. I may have gotten it in 2018. I had to take a day off work because I got sick. For real.
It's an active dead virus. So
yeah.
So you're gonna get those symptoms
Yeah.
whether you experience them or whether you don't.
Right.
So
I also had to take a day off
your body's
work
still
after-
fighting it.
Yeah. Well, I also had to take a day off work after getting a massage too. For real. Okay, so truly they can like it'll expel like these chemicals that are built up, and sometimes it can overwhelm your immune system and you feel sick. For real.
that's a true thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Interesting.
And so I felt I never had a professional massage in my life. And
It
so
hurts.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dude. So I work out, right? But I'm not like a bodybuilder. But I mean I make me
Gains.
we make it look bad, right? And this woman, I remember like honestly, I need another one because that's like my flexibility in my shoulder. It's better. It's not that bad. But like I couldn't even do that. Like I would get to like here and that was as far back as I could go.
You're like,
and she started massaging. Yeah, it looks like I'm flexing. I'm not trying to. But she started like massaging the back of my shoulder and she was like, "Oh my god, you have so many knots back here."
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like,
you don't realize you're tense until somebody starts rubbing your back.
I know.
I feel like at least.
I know. And I wanted to go back and get another one, but I feel like COVID's gonna put a damper on
Jumping into the stories, I don't know if you remember when at KSN, I always leaned to my left because you were over here, and that's just my angle on the TVs.
Yeah.
I got out of place on my back because I was leaning like that, and I had to go get a professional massage too. I didn't get sick because I'm not a wussy. No, I'm just. But no, it definitely you felt it for the next week. So
I felt that.
Wow.
The with the chairs that we had at work,
they were not great.
They were not great. The original ones were much better in my opinion.
Sure.
But they like there was this little clip that would break if you like sell them too hard, and so they would sit to the side just barely. You wouldn't notice it until that feeling that you're talking about. You'd be like, oh, because you're just slightly leaning to the side all day.
Yeah, definitely wore that armrest
out. Yeah, I feel that. Sure. All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and get into this. Dennis, we haven't had a guest for a while, so we got to do the intro right off the top, man.
I know.
Okay. Here we go.
Yo. Do I have to say my name? Do I say?
Dude, I want to. Yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna be like, what's going on, everybody? I'm John. And you say I'm Aaron. And then you go, I'm Dennis. Yeah.
Cool. There we go.
I like it.
All right. Cool. All right. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? I'm John.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Dennison.
And this is the catch up. Man, there was a little hesitance on your end, man. Like, I'm gonna have to edit that in here.
Dramatic pause.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it was like, like, what's going on, everybody? I'm John. I'm Aaron. And I'm Dennison. This is the catch up. Just in time. Yeah, so man, how should we start this off? Obviously with the plugs. We have to start off with the plugs.
Of course, with the plugs. Okay. And then I think we can roll into the of course the ketchup deal.
The elephant in the room, right? Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I was gonna make one noise. I decided not to.
Yeah, you should have. There's only 2 people watching live right now. So, okay, which actually, you know what? Fun fact about that, I found out. Yeah, boy. I found out that number lies.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Because it's straight up like this is a Ketchup Podcast exclusive.
Sure.
It straight up said 0 multiple times where people have still been commenting on the live stream. Have you noticed that, Justin? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I noticed that.
I'm like,
yeah,
actually,
it's a little bit of a misnomer.
Yeah. There, now we actually look lit. Heck yeah.
Everything.
Okay, perfect. It's still weird behind me, but normally I cover it up with my big head. But like,
it's like, there it is.
Yeah.
The glory.
Yep, this is where all the magic happens. Okay, I just said that on the live stream. Okay, all right, here we go. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so yeah, we have our guest, my good friend Aaron Wondra, on the podcast today. Very excited about it. We've talked about doing it off and on probably for years,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and
Couple
so
times.
yeah, we used to work together at the news station that I work at now overnight for 2.5 years.
Mhm.
We did that,
Mhm.
and man, over time, which we'll get into all of this, but man, just the stories that we have, the memories that we have created, man, and then just the bond that we created from that
Yeah.
too. In a really weird way, it's if you have never worked overnight, or if you have, you definitely understand it. But if you haven't, it's a totally different dynamic.
Mhm.
Especially when you're relegated to like one person that
Yeah.
you can actually talk to.
Mhm.
And thankfully I got along with this guy really well. Um, so I hopefully, we're going to talk about some of that and give you guys hopefully something that you'll get out of it. But then we have these other topics that we want to discuss. Unfortunately, they're racially motivated, but there's this death and detention deputy custody from where Dennison and I grew up, just north of Allen, Texas. And then
Mhm.
we want to talk about the unfortunate Asian hate crimes that are going on,
Mhm.
namely in Atlanta. So, two newsies, going to give you some news perspective on some stuff. So it'll be a really interesting conversation. Before we get into that, let's pitch our website. That is linked in the description of the live stream right now. If you want to support the show, that's the best way to do it. We have all this merch and apparel, all this good, clean stuff that we like to promote a
Mhm.
lot and usually wear when we're doing the live streams. But speaking of the live streams, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/the ketchup cast. All this is linked down in the description of this episode if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform. We do weekly live streams when we record these episodes where you get to control the conversation in real time by adding your thoughts and opinions. Aaron's done it multiple times.
I check in every once in a while. That's for sure.
Yeah, to be honest, he's pretty much already been a guest on here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's pretty much already had him on the podcast. So welcome back,
Thank
and
you.
and so yeah, feel free to chime in. We love the direction that makes the podcast go when we do that. And check out our Instagram page. You'll be the first to know when new episodes go live. Or YouTube, we have exclusive content going up over there, video content, obviously,
Mhm.
and some very cool stuff coming down the pipeline there. And then email us your topic ideas, or why you think you would make an interesting guest on the Ketchup Podcast.
It doesn't take much.
It really doesn't, because the reason why is because everyone has an interesting story to tell if you really dive into it.
Sure. Definitely.
No matter what it's
Exactly.
about.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why Aaron's here. So yeah, those are really the plugs. The ketchup cast at gmail.com.
Mhm. Say that one more time, man. Say that one more time for me.
That was bad form. The ketchup cast at gmail.com. So
There you go.
yeah. So Aaron is aware of all our Hodge twins references there.
Yeah, I'm in the
Yeah,
we got that.
Mostly
Mhm.
because that was the only thing that amused me when I was working overnight.
It just kept rolling the whole time.
I would literally take like a 10 or 15-minute break, just once I got the show stacked or whatever. I'd be like, hold on, I'm not gonna talk for a minute. I'm gonna watch a Hodge Twins video.
And
And
it was a constant eating fest. Just behind me, I just heard this chewing different foods.
It is. That's literally what it sounded like. It was terrible. I honestly don't know how you didn't want to murder me.
I mean, honestly, let's be honest, every time, not every time, but there were times you're just like, oh my God, is this guy behind me seriously doing this again? I got stuff to do.
I know.
Nah.
I'm going to tell you about this recurring dream off the bat that I have on a regular basis. And I don't think I've ever told you this, but it started when we worked together, and our good friend Kevin Ryder, who I've had on this a couple times now.
Mhm.
My dream is that there's breaking news, like 2 people shot in downtown Wichita, whatever. And we send somebody out on it. Like, surprisingly, the stubborn photojournalist that never wants to go out on that, he's like, oh, I'm there. Yeah. So I go running into the booth. I'm like, guys, there's breaking news. We got to get it in now. Show's about to start.
I don't know.
And you guys both look at me and you're like, so?
Who cares?
And he looks at me and he says, I'm not destroying my rundown for that.
Oh no! Oh my gosh!
Which, for those who aren't news, the rundown is like the order of stories that you have and
Mhm.
like how it plays out
Right.
and everything. And so you look at me and you say that, I'm like, what? And you're like, sorry, man. I swear, I'm so it's happening. And you're like,
oh my gosh!
you're like, sorry, man. You can put it in when it's your turn if you want, but I'm not putting it.
An hour later, I don't even care. I don't need it in my show.
And I'm like,
That's funny.
yeah. I go, what the hell? And I'm like, Kevin, is this not breaking news? And he's like, I don't know. That's not a decision for me to make.
Mhm.
But I have this all the time,
Mhm.
and I don't. Man, I've had it for years.
That's
I just
funny.
want it to stop.
Weird. I don't know what would stir that emotion or or that feeling that I wouldn't throw something in for you.
I know,
That's
especially
funny.
something like that. I
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know, but yeah, we faced an uphill battle multiple times. But yeah, I started doing the overnight shift to produce a morning newscast in July of 2016.
Okay.
Dang, almost 5 years ago. That's so wild.
I know.
If you did July, then I would have been shortly after September, October, probably joining you because I
Yeah.
got the job in August.
Yes, and you trained, and I
Mhm.
was like, it was you and this other guy. His name was Johnny. And I was like,
Johnny.
and we were told to be like prepared for Johnny to be the co-producer. Right?
Oh man. Oh yeah. Oh, I totally forgot about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And then, well, one of these two people sucked, and the other one did not.
Don't say that. He didn't suck. He's doing good things right now.
He is doing good.
He's doing good things.
He's in Las Vegas now. He's producing in Las Vegas, so good for him. Or he
Oh,
might be
wow.
doing something else after that now. Actually,
I think he's still there.
yeah.
I mean, we're friends on Facebook and stuff.
Yeah. So he didn't suck. I'm just giving him a hard time. But ended up being Aaron. And man, I don't know what it is, but like there's certain people in Kansas that this is really bad because I'm not one of these people typically, but there's certain people that look a certain way and just have this certain vibe that I'm like, I'm not gonna get along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought
Oh
that you were
Oh.
of that.
Oh,
no.
I thought that you were of that. Yeah, when you first, like, I don't want to say first joined, but before you joined. Before you joined.
Okay.
And I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna get along with that
Mhm.
dude. But you know how it is. So there's a certain culture where he used to work, where I work, and many other businesses too. Anytime there's change come in,
Mhm.
like, oh man,
Here it comes.
we had a new anchor joining our morning newscast when we were working together, and we were told, hey, your new anchor's a B, man. I hope you can handle her.
Yeah.
She's one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily one of them.
I was like, what?
Who even dropped that on us?
Yeah,
You know?
I know.
Why?
So I had been doing it for 3 months by myself at this point. I just wanted help.
Mm-hmm.
And so Aaron came, and man, I don't even know when we hit it off, to be honest with you.
And probably when I took my headphones out for the first time. No. You
Oh,
remember that?
yeah.
I told him like, hey, I usually work with my headphones in, so if you need me, let me know.
I forgot that.
But it was reasonable because I was just trying to like listen to the news stories and everything, and making sure I knew what was going on. But then,
Mhm.
I felt like John felt put off by that, not knowing like, okay, what's this like? Does this guy not even want to like give me a second thought,
Yeah.
to this show?
Yeah. So I was honestly, the thing that I love and hate about Aaron is that he reads me so freaking well. Like, honestly, people have thought that we're brothers before. Like when we were
Not a false fact.
yeah, like people legit thought we were brothers. And so I'm like, man, and he would know that, and I'm like, I didn't even say anything. I didn't even do anything. But no, more than anything, I was actually, because I was 22 at the time, I was actually scared to be working overnight and like lose all my social life.
I mean, that's a easy thing to lose when you're working overnight.
Yeah.
So.
And so I was
Mhm.
like, okay, maybe I can be friends with this guy.
Mhm.
You're like, hey, I was like,
sorry.
okay, well, maybe I'll just crank up my own music and hope that he can't hear it over his headphones, which is I bought Spotify Premium. So
You're welcome.
yeah, I know. So Yeah, no, I forgot about that. But anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I don't know what I did.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like so Dennison. This is kind of it's funny because you and I first bonded talking about women, right? Like dating in high school.
uh, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Dating in high school.
So Aaron has been with the same woman ever since I've known him. You know what I mean? Like,
Facts.
Mhm.
yeah. And
Hey, Cass.
they're all married and stuff, and it's super gross. Like, I'm just kidding. But no. So he like even still like I've been going through my own like it's me. So there's always this, and and I would talk to him about it
Mhm.
Mhm.
because this is the world in which I live. If
Yeah.
it's not
I
you,
mean,
it's
yeah. I mean, if it's not me, you're gonna have to wake somebody else up in the middle of the night. Which I
Yeah.
feel like you talk to Dennison or some other people every once in a while, or
yeah,
or you have to
Mhm.
suffer through the day
yeah.
to get stuff off your chest.
Well, this is no knock on
Yeah.
Denison, but I don't think he would do that for me anymore. Like, and he's just got too much going on, man. But yeah, I would call him at like 1 a.m. He'd be
Yeah.
like, "Hello."
Dude, let the guy sleep.
I know. I know. So yeah, I mean, but I would air my grievances, and you would hear it out, man.
I got open ears, man.
I know there was, and this is really jumping ahead, but like there was a time where I was really going through it with this relationship I was in. I very specifically remember 30 minutes into this conversation that I was telling you, standing in front of your desk and talking, and literally thinking while I'm saying this, why am I talking about this? Why am I dealing with this?
Right.
Why do I even care?
Uh-huh.
And I look at him and I was like, how have you not gotten sick of this? I'm sick of talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're there together, and we at that point we had already formed, a friendship.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna hear you out. I'm working at the time, doing my job as I'm listening to you, but I mean, I'm not gonna turn my friend away from support or whatever you needed just to get things
Right.
off.
Right.
So,
Which
Mhm.
I think, as crappy of a way as that is to find that out, that was the real moment when I figured out how like genuine of a character you are, like how good of a guy, how caring of a person, just in general.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
I try to be caring.
No, I know, man. I know. So yeah. So we worked overnight, and Denson actually for a little while. Denson worked overnight for about, which I think you might remember that because I'd be on the phone with him when you'd come in sometimes.
Sure. Yep.
And he worked overnight for about 3 months. But yeah,
Yeah.
man,
I think it was more closer to like 4 months, but yeah, something like
yeah,
that. Yeah, I got out that quick.
But, so when you did it, you were like mostly by yourself, right?
Um, let's see. So for the first, I think month, I was by myself. And then they brought in there was another guy who was working the same shift, or that's what it was. For the first so the first day of that shift, and for the first month or whatever, I would have someone on Wednesday. I would actually have two people on Wednesday. Good friend of the podcast, Montrell, and another friend of mine, DJ. I would on Wednesdays, I remember, because it was Wednesday through Saturday or whatever. I would have somebody there, but then the rest of the week, I would just pretty much be me until they brought in another person. So that was a nightmare in itself. Just being there by yourself, and you're just kind of there with your thoughts. And for me, since I work in IT, it's just going through mounds of tickets at that point in time. So yeah. No, I remember us talking.
So how Aaron, how did you feel like when on days I was off or on vacation or whatever? How did you feel personally?
The first couple times,
Yeah.
it was just panic, like
Yeah.
because I'm like, I have to produce a 2.5 hour show. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So it was just, I hit the ground running, just, I have to do it. I have to get it. But you do have that sense of like, man, I'm definitely missing a part of like, I'm part of a team. Where's my help here? And you rely on somebody once you get used to, having somebody, you rely on them to, pick up here when you're slacking or whatever. Well, you don't have that slack. So, you really have to step up and, I think we always worked really well together, getting stuff in. And it was first couple times was panic, but then you get used to it. Then you're just like, I just have to work a little harder today because John Boy's gone.
Yeah. I had this really, this is going to sound weird, but I feel like sometimes I'm motivated by dark thoughts. And so when I would do it by myself, especially those first 3 months where it was just me, I kept having like this movie quote play in my head where it was like, no one can hear you scream. Right?
Sure.
It's literally just me. And so I was like, well, there's only one thing I can do, and it's not fail.
Yeah.
And so I have to, get after it. And I don't know. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but I wanted to ask, what would you say? So the thing about working overnight is your body is exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind is exhausted. I always said this to you, I remember, but I felt like, say you slept 8 hours during the day, right? Well, I think to me, how my body reacted to it, sleeping 8 hours during the day is the same as sleeping 6 hours at night.
Sure.
I always felt like it was 2 hours less kind of thing.
I feel like, you don't, it's not the same quality of sleep at all.
Yeah.
Because I would wake up, and start my day, and I would just already be focused on when am I going to get to sleep next? And if it was going to be work related, like, am I not going to sleep because of work, or do I have things outside of in my social life that is going to conflict with my sleeping schedule? And then I was irritable, towards those people I was with, like, because I was there, hey, I got to sleep in 2 hours. I got to sleep in 2 hours, or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was rough.
Well, there also, I would say things that are like psychosis, right? Because I never thought, and I actually still kind of believe in these, to be honest, but I never had more deja vus than when I was working overnight.
I could say I definitely had more.
Yeah,
I could say that too.
Yeah. But
same.
do you really feel that way too? See, I never knew that.
It was weird.
It is weird, and to me, I always took them as like, it's a reminder, God telling me I'm on the right path, kind of thing. But do you remember when your house security started going up?
I knew this was going to get brought up. Yeah, of course, for sure.
It's the only meme I ever made of Aaron. I made memes of everybody, but it's the only one I ever made of him. But like, your reaction to that, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
So, okay, first of all, tell the story what happened.
Yeah. So obviously I'm working overnight. Me and my wife, she was my fiance at the time, right? Yeah, probably fiance at the time. She worked early in the morning, and we had just gotten done with the show, and we had an alarm system that would go off, for whatever reasons. But this was the first time that it really went off, like when no one was home. She had just left. So, I mean, we lived in a neighborhood that wasn't great, but she had just left. So it would just make sense. Like, oh, they're gone for the day. I know he's going to be gone for however long, and she's just left. Well, let's break in. So she had left 5 minutes, and then the alarm, true alarm went off. And I was like, I'm out of here. I am going home, and I'm stopping whoever's in my house stealing my inexpensive things.
Yeah. Which, and that's my point. So I ended up making this meme because he kept being like, you'd run through the newsroom. You're like, my fiance's gone and my house alarm's going off. My fiance's gone and my house alarm is going off. It was literally like Chandler's Durant's, man. And so, like,
what a character.
I was like, dude, do you need anything? You're like, I don't know. My fiance's gone. My house alarm is going off. So I literally made this meme of his face on Elmer Fudd's body that said, my fiance's gone. My house alarm's going off.
I think I have that still. It's somewhere.
Yeah, but you found the other one.
Yeah, I found the other ones.
You commented on a Facebook post. No, I like. my reaction to that was not what it normally would have been, and your reaction to that wasn't like. Don't get me wrong, like a oh crap reaction is totally natural in that, but like still you couldn't like put together words.
I gotta go. I gotta go.
Yeah.
No, I could. Literally, now that you say it, like it's funny to think about how you remember it versus how I remember it. And now after you say it, though, I'm like, man, yeah, that's how I was for sure.
Right, and that's just the simple impact of working those odd hours, you know. But man, tell them about how you managed it, because you were crazy. How you managed your sleep, how you managed that schedule.
It was not fun. So I would wake, I'd go to work, go home. I would sleep for I don't even know. It would vary all the time versus like 5 to 7 hours, probably my rough estimate. I would wake up, and then I would my wife would be, she was living with her folks at a time, so I would probably go over there and eat dinner with them, or I'd spend some amount of time with them, and then she would go to sleep at her house, and I would go to sleep with her as well. So it was like a brief nap, and then I would go to work, and that's basically how it went most of the time. But I was just like breaking my sleep schedule. Man, it probably wasn't 5 to 7. It was probably like 4 to 6 hours every day, and then trying to live a normal life, and then with the nap. That probably and it's hard for me to sleep. So getting to sleep it was tough. So most nights I probably didn't even get a little nap in before I came in at midnight. So
we had a reporter, Amanda Aguilar, who I love to this day, and actually she and I are in talks of getting her on here too.
Oh really?
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah. I still call her my work wife, man, but she was even crazier than that. Most days she would sleep 3, maybe 4 hours, and then come into
That's
work.
rough. Yeah, that sounds awful.
I know. And Carly does that now,
really?
but not by her own choice. Sure. It just, she has trouble with it. So yeah, I would go home from work and like try to go to sleep. And especially when I was living on my own at the time, that freaking, I love that dog to death. Oh my God. He would see squirrels and he just would not stop barking,
Worst part, it's not your dog.
Yeah. It's not my dog.
Exactly.
I can't do anything about it. And so I would wake up at like 1 in the afternoon. I only have slept like 4 hours. And so the only answer was I would go and work out, and then I'd eat something. As soon as that food would hit my stomach, I passed out. I passed out. And I don't know if you remember this, but like the reason I was always eating is because I was doing intermittent fasting more strictly back then. So I would have that window that I would eat food during. And so then when I would wake up early, not only was I pissed off that I woke up early, I'm like, well, there goes my intermittent fasting schedule, So dumb. So anyway, no, you were crazy with it, because you'd break it up, and that to me, like, it
was rough.
You handled that better than I handled like straight sleep for that shift. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But what would you say? Actually, I'll ask Denison first. But Denison, so like for the 4 months that you did it, right? What would you say is the biggest positive and the biggest negative that you got from working overnight?
Let's see. I'd say biggest positive. It taught me how to properly schedule my day. Because I feel like, and you guys talked about this already, but it's you're literally, your whole schedule is, when am I going to sleep? It's figuring out when I'm going to sleep and making sure that you have enough time. And then if there's social activities, you pencil everything in. It's like you have to have it down to a science. Otherwise, you're not going to make it. So I think that was my biggest positive that came from that, is just learning how to properly schedule everything in my life. It also kind of just got me on the process of just making sure that I not just scheduling, but like budgeting and all that other good stuff. But I'd probably say like the most negative about that is, and it's something that I think I still struggle with a lot, is I think staying in contact with people.
Yeah. You struggled with that
because
before you worked overnight, my guy.
I did. I mean, I think that's always been a struggle, but I think it got a little bit worse when I had overnight because again, I'm scheduling, right? I'm scheduling everything. So, and for me, and I've talked to you about this before, where for me, it takes me a little bit longer when I'm like writing stuff out and all that other good stuff, just because of I overthink things. And so, um, uh, what ends up happening for me is like I think of it as like a time thing, right? So if I want to respond to people, I have to literally I have to pencil people in for like, okay, it's time to respond to people, and let me do this, this, and this, and then figure out when I go to sleep. So I think that's probably one of my bigger things. Um, I'm sure there's another one that was actually even bigger than that, but I can't think of it right now.
You got that?
But what about you guys?
Yeah, man. What about you?
The biggest positive, probably the same thing. Time adjustment on just making it important to talk to people. And when you have time. Obviously, now that I'm not doing it, we have plenty of time to talk to people and whatnot.
Yeah.
And keep that relationship, because I that's probably the negative thing overnight, is that it hurt my relationship with people, even family. I feel like I didn't talk to my parents as much, because they were working or they were doing their social life when I was sleeping. And I don't know, I feel like I lost some connections with people here and there. So, and then your work friends become your friends, obviously. But yeah, that's probably the back and forth between those two things.
Yeah, my that'd be my negative as well. I oddly enough though, I felt like I did connect with certain people better than I would have if I worked normal hours.
Sure.
Like our friend Devon, I would call him at like 11 p.m. I don't think he would do this now, but just the way his life was at the time, he would talk to me and we'd talk for like 2 hours until like 1 a.m. And it was perfect for me because I'm in my prime at that point for being awake. But overall, yeah, it was tough. My parents have always been really considerate and patient with anything, but so that wasn't a worry. But extended relatives and then certain dating opportunities, that was tough.
Yeah. I mean, if I wasn't already with the person I am for the rest of my life, like, I don't know what I would have done about dating stuff.
Yeah.
At all.
I still pulled it off, but man, it was like I was on a different plane. As people are kind of winding down from their day, I'm getting hyped up for my day.
Like, hey, hang out with me some more.
Yeah. I think another negative would be a caffeine addiction.
Drank a lot of coffee back then.
Well, do you remember I would have pre-workout, right? Because I work out. I don't even do pre-workout anymore.
Really?
No, I'm too sensitive to all that. But and I would have a Bang.
I remember the Bang. That's when Bang blew up. Was when we were
overnight. It was
So.
And I have this Bang. They had protein bangs for a little while, and I would have that. I remember on the third, if I had it like 3 days in a row. I remember on that third day, I would start feeling really bad.
Really?
Yeah, like my everything would feel tense. Like I'd feel kind of sick to my stomach. I'm like, what's happening? But I think the positive for it was because of the lack of mental energy, and because of the schedule in which you're having to focus in and you're having to get this stuff done so quickly.
Yeah,
I got out of my own head.
Sure.
In a really big way, because you just had to do and do and do, and you couldn't overthink it. You're like, well, this is what I'm committed to, and this is the amount of energy I have to do it.
Yep.
So I'm doing it. And I've gotten more and more closer to that over the past couple months, but it's in a weird way. If I were to ever go back to that shift, it would be because of that life skill.
Oh, okay.
To get to get out of my own head again, which I think is something a lot of people struggle with. But I would agree with that. But yeah, man, and then obviously you and me, Amanda and myself, even though we don't talk to them hardly at all anymore, Mark Davidson and Leon Smitherman, man.
Love those guys so much. I still friends with obviously both of them. Mark isn't on Facebook, but Leon is. And man, I enjoy being able to still just to see his life, and we'll chat every once in a while. And it's just good to talk to that guy who went through those same experiences.
Oh yeah, and then Kevin. So
Kevin.
Kevin and Aaron are two of my best friends, and I mean that. What the weird thing about that is, you could almost picture it like our last interview that we had with Matt Bushek, where he was talking about being isolated on an island for 8 months. You know, well, it's similar to that in that we were isolated by our hours, and you know, you're either going to be friends or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can say for me, like, I'm a, I humbly say this, I'm a very good friend once I'm out of my shell with somebody.
Sure.
I had no choice but to be out of my shell with these people, you know? And so just a position that put me in, that taught me a lot as well. And I think that where things have taken my life with music, especially, I've learned from that to just be like, hey, just go, you know, send it. That's what me and my friend Blake Loggins always say. Just send it, man.
Sure.
I'm gonna just send it.
Yeah, there were definitely times with me and Kevin when you would exit the booth and you would turn around, look at me, and we'd be like, did that guy just say that? Is he telling us that story right now? Like, man, he really trusts us with that. Like, I don't know if I would have said those things just because it was, you know, you're just like, man, that guy trusts us with some information, and, you know, grateful for that, just because, you know, that shows the trust between us too.
Yeah.
You know, makes it stronger. So.
Yeah. You can ask Denison that if you're in my circle, you're getting every single part of me. Yep, you're getting every part. Yeah. So no, and I'm thankful that didn't scare you off, to be honest. But I don't know. Let's see. What would be? This is one thing I wanted to ask. So, like, you know, these odd hours create an odd environment, and due to sleep deprivation, but unity as well, and then camaraderie, and then you know, just the isolation of it all. To be clear, Aaron and I would go in at 11 p.m. Aaron would come in at 12. Although typically it was like I'd come in at 11:15. Aaron come in at 11:30. So like we're pretty much there the whole time.
Yeah. Long time.
And then we wouldn't really have anybody join us until about 3.5 hours later.
Yeah.
And so what to you would be one of the crazier, like, more wild times, memories from that?
Man, it when we would start having stuff like happen, we would we're like, oh gosh, who do we need to call, and what do we need to do about it? I think the craziest time when that happened was election between Hillary and Trump, and our news director basically says, okay, well, Hillary's gonna win, here's our plan. And we go into that, and we're watching. Everybody's left at this time because, you know, it's a busy day in news, but everybody leaves, and it's just me and John. And all of a sudden, Hillary's not going to win this thing, and we're without a plan. And so now we're diving into this like, oh gosh, what do we have to do? And we're just jumping into it. And I don't even know how we managed to get out of the no plan scenario. I guess we kind of just flipped it almost, but it was nuts. And then outside of that, it was just like the random calls we would get at like 1 in the morning from random people in nowhere, Kansas, or even just in Wichita in general.
No. Do you remember that guy?
Oh no.
That called, and he was saying that we stole the 11.
Yes. Oh my god. He called like 3 or 4 times, 5 times in the middle of the night, and he would sing the song a little bit. So
we had this theme.
Yeah.
We had this theme at the time for our ads, and he says that we stole it.
You stole. He even drag out stole so much.
What was this guy? What was the artist name?
I would know it if I wasn't.
Yeah, because of how he said it.
Yeah,
and it was
I say Morton or Norton.
Yeah, like and the like 4th time he calls back, he's like, you stole it from blah blah blah, and it's like, who? And he's like, blah blah blah. He's like, I'm sorry, sir. Can you say that again?
Yep.
He's just screwing with him.
I ended up looking the guy up on man, I need to know his name now. I looked him up on Google while I was on the phone with this guy, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like, because I'm listening to the song as I'm talking to the guys. Oh, that sounds like, but what was his name again? And just
so this artist was from Wichita, and he sang a song about the Keeper of the Plains, which is this.
It wasn't even about the Keeper of Plains. It literally just said keeper. It said Keeper of the Plains as a singular line
Yeah,
in
you're
there,
right. Yeah.
and it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't much to do with Wichita in itself.
No,
it was bad.
Which is a symbol that we have. It's even on our flag. Well, no,
Mhm.
is it? No. Anyway, it's a symbol that we have in
No, it's
Wichita. But it's basically, you know, symbolic. There are statues and all this stuff of you know, Indian. Obviously, Wichita being an Indian tribe. You gotta look up. The
I think I
artisan
know
tree.
the name.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up real quick
because of
before.
how he said, yeah. So and it said a line about the Keeper of the Plains. Now this jingle we had at the time said something about the Keeper of the Plains as well, and that was it. Like they had this same band do the song hundreds of times for different markets across the country, right? And so they would have to pick out parts that are like, you know, iconic from each city, and so they're given a script, obviously, but but it was literally that. It was the one line about the Keeper of the Plains. The guy's like, can't you hear that? It's the same thing. And he's like got this record player on the background, and he just cranks it. And he's like, it literally sounds exactly the same. And it did not.
Nope.
It did not. And Aaron has it on speaker at this point. I'm like, well, actually, no, I answered.
I was a little angry at this point because it was a third or second time I had talked. Like John talked to him the first couple times. Then he was like, I'm not answering the phone. I know who it is.
Yeah.
And sure enough, obviously, it was him calling in again. I want to say Rick Norton. That's what I want to say. It
honestly,
sounds right.
Yeah.
I didn't find it, but yeah, it was. He kept calling back. I finally that last time I was just kind of like angry. I'm like, I'm messing with you at this point. So
yeah,
which is awful of me. I'm sorry if you're listening out there in the wide world.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But
what was
set me up?
What was I cut you off? Was that where you were going with that? Or?
Yeah, exactly where I was going with that. Just that guy. Phone call. I was also there was a lady talking about tornadoes out in Pratt area that would call multiple times. I talked to her definitely 3 times for sure in the span of severe weather season.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember that. You see, there's something you have to remember about people that call news stations are an interesting breed for the most part. Now we've had a lot of people calling lately because of unemployment issues. We've had this huge backup. And unemployment payments. There are currently 12,000 people in the state that have not received their benefits. And many of them have been signed up for months. They haven't gotten their benefits. So we have people that will call and explain that to us, not knowing that they're far from the first. And so we can take those complaints to the Kansas Department of Labor. But you subtract that, and then you have people that are calling overnight, right? Yeah. It's an even more interesting breed of people.
And it's usually not sober. I'll say that.
So the weirdest one, this is kind of vulgar, but there was this really bad story about this kid, he was a teenager, I believe. He was sexually molesting children at the downtown YMCA.
Okay. Now we're going.
And this guy who was the same age as the dude who was doing that. Yeah. But this guy was from Garden Plain, a nearby town here. And he calls me drunk at 4 a.m. He calls the station to tell us that he too was sexually molested by this guy years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not trying to make light of the situation. I shouldn't be laughing. It's a serious thing, and this guy's literally in jail because of it. But in what world would you ever call and tell a random group of people that, you know? And I was like,
giving them your name and details. I'm keeping myself for authorities.
Yes. And he goes, now I don't want to talk about this on camera or go on camera with anything, but I just wanted you to know this. And I was like, I didn't want to know that.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, that's too much for me.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot for someone to unload, but you know, I guess that's the thing, right? Some people are calling the news stations because they feel like they need somebody to know their story, right?
Right. And we don't know the guy's story, so maybe we were his only outlet at that point too. At the same time, to look at it that way.
Seriously. I mean, we could have been. I don't know. That was one of the weirdest things that I remember. But probably the weirdest. This was actually a really serious one. So we had this really terrible story that was what was that little kid's name? Evan
I can't think of it.
Hernandez.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and
Man, I forgot about that.
which it's sad that we have to try and remember his name because there was like a Tony Bunn. There was that one chick from Kansas City that was smoking hot, and she like
Yeah, it was a string of basically either kids or like teenager or not teenager, like
young adults.
like 20. She was 21.
Yeah.
She was and then you had the younger kids that just went missing or you just knew they were murdered. And it was just awful. It was a boom, 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 boom string of young deaths that plagued Wichita and the surrounding areas in KC.
Yeah. So this kid went missing, and his dad was Jonathan Hernandez, and his mom was Emily Glass.
Mm-hmm.
They're like a mixed family. Not that really matters, but I'm just kind of painting the picture. So there was a weird thing about Emily Glass with her drug usage and her history and all that kind of stuff that people kind of suspect her. So WPD, Wichita Police Department, and the Sheriff's Office, they investigate this for weeks. And lo and behold, who was it? Somebody, the family. Jonathan Hernandez and his family end up hiring this PI, this private investigator. He's like a vigilante PI from Texas, right? And if I remember this right, he was so invested in solving the case that he didn't even charge them for it. I think he just did it for free.
Right.
And he ended up finding this kid in 2 days. They couldn't find this kid. And they searched for weeks. And this one guy found it in 2 days. And what's even crazier is Emily Glass, the mom, led him to the body. It was wild.
It was a crazy time.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Eventually,
I think I remember.
Overnight.
Yeah.
For you and I.
Yeah. So they she was checked in and released from the jail for some reason. Yep. I remember this girl that Aaron went to high school with. She's actually kind of famous for this. She works at WFA in Dallas now.
Yeah, she's now down. Yeah.
Yeah. Katie Johnston goes up in front of this woman. Everybody's like, what happened? Why'd you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And she goes, are you pregnant? I was like, what?
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Sure.
She had a bit of a beer belly on her at that point.
Yeah. Glass, not
Katie.
Yeah, not Katie.
Yeah. No. But yeah, so then what happened there? They ended up I don't know why she was released. They were pending charges on her. They didn't have enough, I think, to hold her.
Yeah.
And so then she ended up being at her house or at Jonathan's house.
It was a house that they owned together, but neither of them were living there together at the time. Maybe not owned, or at least they were supposed to be residents there.
Yes. So this was the other stress of working overnight and it just being the two of us. We had to listen to the police scanners all by ourselves. Normally there's a guy designated to that. And we had to listen to the police scanners, and we heard this shooting call come out. Now, what's weird about this, I don't want to give away the end of the story. Well, actually, I'll wait. I'll wait until I get to that. But we sent our photojournalist out. He was the on-call guy of the night. And we sent him out to there. And he's stationed there for about 5 minutes. And he calls us. He goes, guys, I think this is Emily Glass's home. And you and I had been sitting there.
Because there had been a shooting.
Right.
There had been a shooting, and we were like, that sounded like the street, that we already previously knew. And so we sent him.
Well, and we couldn't remember why we knew that, why we recognized that.
It just
street.
sounded familiar.
Yeah. And so we're like, well, let's send him out and blah, blah, blah. So he's there. And they end up, he calls us. He goes, I'm pretty sure this is Emily Glass's home. And we're like, what? So it turns out she ended up killing herself inside this home. But what's weird about that is every time that something like that happens, which this is why, I've kind of alluded to this on this podcast, but this is why there's an emotional toll that it takes on you working in news, because you hear these things, you hear domestic violence call, you hear suicide, you hear all that. And even if you don't really register it, it's still going in your brain. You're thinking about all this negative things that are happening. but there was it was a shooting call, whereas normally it would have been a suicide call, and that was so weird. It was almost like WPD wanted us to be there.
Mm-hmm. It was a strange feeling for sure.
Yeah, and
we were getting closer to showtime.
yeah,
Right. It wasn't like
Mm.
I had just gotten there at midnight. It was, I don't know, like 2 or 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was getting late. And then our anchor at the time had the number of the PI, had the phone number for the PI. So he calls the PI, and this guy verifies through 3 other sources in 15 minutes that it was Emily Glass that shot herself, calls us back, confirms it for us, and we went on air with it.
Yep. It was
Wow.
really cool though. I mean, obviously we led that story pretty easily that morning for sure.
Yeah.
Just the momentum that we had with that story after that point was nuts. Just that we had all this information of like not even luck, but like luck and just ingenuity.
Yeah.
And what am I looking for?
Intuition, I
Intuition.
guess.
There we go.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And she ended up like our boss at the time ended up not being very happy that we did that, but we were even validated and proven by police that what we had said was true before our morning newscast was even off the air. So it was like I can kind of see where you're coming from, but we already know this is right now.
Right.
And she was still not happy with us because we just trusted this vigilante PI,
Yeah.
you know.
It's a good time though.
Yeah. So that was definitely one of the weirder ones.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot though. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things that happen when you're working overnight, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to like take off, like, because you know the stories in the back of your head, but there's just the quantity that you're not really sure which one blends with the other unless they're the major ones, you know.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with those.
Yeah, I know. I can like quick hit on like when you were gone and the Las Vegas shooting happened.
I can't believe I was gone for that.
That was definitely something that traumatized me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Because this is when, for those who don't know, this is when actually social media started censoring more and more because it was being uploaded at such a fast pace they had no control over.
Yeah, I mean, you saw people getting shot in those videos, and I think at the time you messaged me or sent me something like, dude, this is what's happening while you're gone.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and I was legit like crying. I was like, God, I hope the network takes over. You know,
please somebody come in with this.
Yeah, you don't even know, because one of the topics we want to talk about tonight is the Atlanta hate crimes. At least that's how they're being charged right now. So and the reason I say that is because, you know, I don't think there was a special report for that when that happened. And so the reason I questioned before we knew the death toll of what the Las Vegas shooting was, we as a culture have become more and more desensitized to this kind of stuff, right? And so it's really hard to know when you're in news, is this going to get covered? Not, because just so much of it has happened. But yeah, man, so let's go ahead and jump into this topic. This will be interesting. We got 2 producers on this podcast
here. No, it'll be very interesting to see to hear you guys' perspective on the whole thing.
Yeah, man.
Did you want me to go ahead and start it out?
Yeah, go for it, bro.
Of course. So there is a shooting in Atlanta where a guy went to, was it 3 different massage parlors, I think it was.
All in a nearby area. Yeah.
Yeah. And he shot up each one of them. And I can't remember how many people were killed in each of those shootings, because he would just go to them and then just kept going and going. And these were all ones that he had frequented, if I'm not mistaken.
It was 8 people were killed.
Man. And see, and that's the terrible thing about it. And what's interesting about the whole story is the way that I think, And actually, this is great because I want to get you guys' perspective on it. And it's that the way that it's been covered has been very interesting. So, of course, it's been labeled as, hate crimes and stuff like that. But then you also have the police department who I think did a very poor job of, telling like what's actually going on. And I think there needed to be a little bit less of a bias there, since I think it was the police chief, if I'm not mistaken, who was friends with the person who was driving around and shooting.
Yeah, they at the very least had a history of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he said that the guy was just having a bad day,
Direct quote.
and
Yeah.
that they weren't. Yeah, and then that they weren't racially motivated, and he said something like the guy had a sex addiction or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. To Asian women.
Yeah.
Yeah. Specifically, it's slang term is yellow fever. But yeah. So you want our perspective on it's as far as media coverage goes, you want our perspective on it? Is that what
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have an interesting perspective on it that I've gained since you've not worked with me. But I want to hear yours first though.
Man, just based obviously you want your attention to not be on, I'm not going to call it like success of this guy, but obviously you don't want repeats.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I cover it that you don't have another person coming out and like, I'm going to make a name for myself, So you have to take that angle. And at the same time, who are you making an example of? You have this police chief that's saying this quote of he is having a bad day. Do you is like, how many times do you play that quote? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, sir.
Yeah.
Like, are you inspiring? You have a couple different routes, like inspiring change within the police department, mourning victims, and then the coverage of the crime itself. Those are three things that I would look at. Like, man, like, why? How can you have a police chief saying this?
Yeah.
Here are the victims. We're going to mourn for them, and then he was arrested. I'm not familiar 100% with the story, so he's obviously been arrested.
Yeah.
Where are they at in the trial process with this?
Well, they ended up they shot him. It was like an officer involved shooting thing. Is that right? And he was hurt, but
yep.
Yeah. He was hurt, but he's not dead or anything.
He's not okay, so probably somewhere sitting in critical condition, probably still.
Yeah,
that's what I'm assuming.
And so I don't know where the charges. Yeah, it was like serious.
He's still in the hospital.
Yeah, but I don't know where the charges stand right now. Do you know?
Say that one more time. Sorry.
Do you know where the charges stand right now?
I don't. I can't remember. I'm trying to think, because I think they haven't released like the charges yet. And I can always look it up really quickly, but I don't know if they've actually released the charges yet, because I know there's still a lot of information that's slowly getting released out to the public.
I agree. I don't think they've actually brought forth any official charges yet, as of this recording. But the thing about it is, as you were saying, the police chief, it was almost trying to downplay the severity of it, which is really crazy. I don't know if that's more, ties that you should break,
right?
Or is it racism? I don't know. Or is it a combination of the two?
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, it's how can you downplay it when the definition of like a massacre is like 3 people, like 3 or 4 people, and you're doubling
exactly.
That.
Yeah, we learned that. We learned that when it was the Lawrence shooting. So the day after the Las Vegas mass shooting, there was a mass shooting in Lawrence. Or it was 5 people. It was 5 people shot in downtown Lawrence, and it got totally swept under the rug because of the Las Vegas thing. And they called it mass shooting on NBC, and I remember talking to him Is that really a mass shooting?
Right.
The definition is 5 or more people as a mass
Wow.
shooting.
So,
So yeah, but so anyway, for those who don't know, what the police chief did, said the guy was having a bad day, and implied he didn't come out and say it, but it was it's still shaping the legal proceedings by him implying this, that part of this was yellow fever, which is a sex addiction to Asian women, based off of something almost 100 years ago where it was sex trafficking of Asian women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the time that we have. I guess it would have been more than 100 years ago, but this is the time that we have all these Chinese and Japanese building our railroads and all of that, right? And so it's the same time period that we're bringing their women over to be sex slaves. And so this guy is implying that is what that was Asian fever, and he had a bad day because something went bad, but he had this sex addiction to these Asian people. It doesn't matter at the end of the day.
no
Exactly.
excuse.
Exactly.
You know,
It doesn't
Yeah.
justify.
No.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my perspective on news wise is this. I think when Donald Trump was president, there became this thing where so news is a public service. That's what it is. It's to keep people informed. And
Mhm.
I think that somewhere along the lines, and I want to say it started with the Washington Post, but they took it upon themselves to just straight up call out the lies that Donald Trump was saying.
Mhm.
And I think certain organizations kind of took that and ran with it and maybe took it too far, for their own
Mhm.
journalistic integrity.
Sure.
And so in where that I've seen it, that same treatment for other things since Donald Trump's left office. And one of them is this, where they're basically calling it a hate crime. They're basically, now if it looks and smells like a duck, it's probably a duck, but still that's not the journalist's job to call it that until it's officially charged as one.
Mhm.
But the reason I think they're doing that is because of these crazy comments from the police chief. So they're trying to, you could argue the intentions are good, but at the same time, I think it blurs the line of journalistic integrity and reporting the facts,
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
But I mean, journalism's transformed, throughout history of how we report things and whatnot. So like, where do you draw the line of reporting it this way? Because you used to have back in the day, the yellow papers and stuff, and they obviously they would make lies up at the same time as because they were trying to be biased on who they were supporting. But I mean, that was when there was no technology besides paper. So but yeah, I mean, journalism's evolved always. So it's like, are you seeing a new breed of journalism between this, and then how do you believe that kind of stuff, or like how do you follow it, to keep it unbiased for yourself?
Yeah, I agree. So I don't know, I kind of have I have mixed feelings about it, to answer your question, Dennison. But yeah. So go ahead. What were you saying?
No, see, I mean that's kind of how I was feeling around the whole deal. The whole coverage is, and I guess that's the thing. I feel like there is a duty, and by the media sometimes, that we need to call people out on their crap. um, but I understand at the same time, as a news organization, you're supposed to be that straight line. You're supposed to be the mouth of information, and then we, as listeners, as viewers, um, as readers, are supposed to interpret that information however uh, we can, or whatever like that. But I do feel like there are certain things that it needs to go a little bit above and beyond. So for instance, what the police chief says, I think should be a little bit more held to a little bit more of scrutiny. And then at the same time, just this whole what's happening currently, I think needs to be, and what I mean by what's happening currently is, it's been kind of there's been an uptake in violence against the Asian community, and I think that kind of needs to be something that we all need to start to um, really talk more about, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like that's kind of the more of the one of the bigger messages that need to come out of this whole situation.
Yeah. What do you think is the spark for this? Is it that we're just paying more attention to it, or is it new? And what sparked it?
Uh, I don't know. I to be completely honest, I don't know. I kind of do feel that there's a little bit of a an in between. And what I mean by that is, I think it's a new trend, yes, but it might have been something that's always been going on in the background. It's just we never really noticed. Um,
Yeah.
I know with the coronavirus and our past presidents, there was um, a lot of blame put out there, and I think that kind of uh, the people who really went into that type of rhetoric uh, or fed into that really felt that that was a way for them to like grab a torch and say like, all right, cool, I've got a voice behind, I've got someone who supports me in my thoughts, my innermost
Yeah.
thoughts, and so I can act this out without having to feel that I'm being alienated or that I'm the only one there. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest sparks, I think, for a lot of what's happening or what has been happening.
Well, let's touch on this because I know we're gonna have to bounce out of here soon.
Mm,
Um, you know, obviously a lot of that Asian hate is happening, but there's also a thing that happened where Denison and I grew up. Um, and I'll break it down real quick. It's this guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he's 1 year younger than us, man. We probably went to high school with him if he's from Allen.
hmm
But he was found to be in possession of 2 ounces of marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which would still be illegal in some states
Mm-hmm.
where they legalized it, but still,
Right.
it's not. He's not trafficking cocaine, right? So,
hmm
um, so he was found, but it's neither here nor there. The police or the family's attorney of this man says that he was in a mental health crisis, and instead of taking him to a mental health facility, they took him to a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I understand it, hospitals do have behavioral health services, you know, but it's not really geared so much for mental health crises.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so they kind of took him to the wrong place, and then
hmm
booked him in a jail
Mm-hmm.
where he fought with detention deputies because again he was having a mental health crisis. Now, granted, this is according to the family attorney. I'm just repeating what he said. Um, but he began struggling. Somehow died. Somehow died in custody.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
This man from where we grew up, this at the Collin County Jail in Texas. And they found, well, people have been protesting for more information for surveillance video. And what's really interesting about this is the almost admission of guilt, because seven detention deputies are on administrative leave right now,
hmm
and they haven't even found what happened or really released any
Mm-hmm.
information of what happened. And then not only is the sheriff's office investigating, right,
Mm-hmm.
but the Texas Rangers are investigating. You know, the freaking baseball team's investigating, man. Starting lineups on this one. But no, the legendary Texas Rangers are investigating this stuff. Um, it's it's pretty wild. It seems almost pretty clear cut and dry.
Yeah.
You know.
There was
Mhm.
obviously something that is not right within the handling of what happened between him and law enforcement.
Yeah.
On the law
Yeah,
enforcement side.
exactly.
Yeah. That they didn't do something right.
I think people really don't understand how much crazy stuff goes on, even at just those minimum security jails.
Mhm.
Our
Yeah.
jail here has had a problem with people trying to ship K2 in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so much so,
Hmm.
this is actually kind of funny. This was today. K2 envelope with K2 in it and 32 roll-in papers.
Wow.
Was shipped in there with the return address of the Kansas Attorney General's office.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
So there are things that happen at jails all across the country. Prisons, same deal, but you don't really hear about them.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost probably everyday practice. You know that this stuff is happening, and whether they catch it or they don't catch it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it almost makes me wonder. Is there more to that? Mental health crisis while found in possession of marijuana. Was this guy tripping, on something? Not marijuana necessarily, but like something. I don't know. I don't know, man. Allen is a sleepy town when it comes to stuff like that. That stuff doesn't really happen where we grew up,
Mm. Yeah.
Except, and this is what I want to bring up. You guys remember? Actually, we were working overnight together when this happened. Do you remember that officer in McKinney, just north of Allen, where he broke up that pool party, and it was mostly black kids, right? And he was trying to, and they were in a white neighborhood, and they just hopped the fence and went to this public pool where no one else was at, and he was like threatening them, get out of here, blah blah blah.
Right.
And he did that somersault. You remember that?
I think I remember that.
He did a somersault for no reason. And then he ends up pulling a gun on a girl. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Now that you're bringing it up, yeah. I don't remember where it went, but the somersault, him pulling it, and then it just like froze right there for me.
Yeah. And he didn't do anything, thank God. But like, man, just so Collin County is like at one point, this is still weird for me to say this because it doesn't make sense to me. It was the highest average income county in the United States. Which obviously there are places like Beverly Hills and whatnot, but there's such an income disparity there,
Sure.
And so everybody's more on a level playing field, but it is pretty privileged community overall. And yet, it's not immune to these kind of things, I guess, that appear to be racially driven incidents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is also Texas, so Texas doesn't really have the best track record, I would say, when it comes to racial equality. So
yeah, but would you say it's worse than other places though? I don't feel like it is. I'm thinking of more east, but still in the south,
I mean, I don't know. There's certain parts of Texas that I just know I wouldn't go. So that's probably like the biggest thing for me. And I guess that's what I mean. Like even in some of the liberal places like Austin and stuff like that, there's still a little bit of people look at you differently. I'll say that.
Where we didn't experience any of that was our bro trip to Seattle.
That was really nice. Yeah. No, that was a great place.
The only time we got that, but this was to both he and I, was we were walking around the back of the Amazon Go store. Remember that?
Yep.
And there was, what were they working on there? They're building something. It was like construction, And it was like, dude, it was like these 4 guys in suits with sunglasses, and they were like just watching us. And they started like walking. They were across the street, but matching our walk.
Sure,
it was weird. That was really weird. But other than that, yeah, I can't think of any weird instances up there. But yeah, so it's, I don't know. As far as that story goes, from Alan, obviously, it's really kind of too early to comment on it too much.
Yeah.
But there's gonna be I feel like it's gonna end up being one of those things that blows up. Now, this is just a fact. This isn't a reflection on any buddy or group or anything like that. But I don't really think the protests, unless people come from surrounding areas, are going to be too big. Because as I said, it's a pretty privileged community. And typically that's not where protests happen.
Sure.
You know? It's not.
Yeah.
And
it depends on how or go ahead.
Well, I just remember people being rather indifferent about really important topics when we were growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do remember that. But I also feel like that was also high school.
Well, but I'm not just talking about our age group. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about other people too. But I know what you're saying. Obviously, when it comes to our peers, we were younger and didn't really understand that stuff.
Understand or care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. What point would you say you started caring about politics and news and
for me personally, I mean, you get out of the house and you kind of start paying attention to where your money's going and stuff, and obviously then you kind of start like, well, why is the government using it for this and within the state, you know?
Yeah.
Or why is the federal taking it for this and that? But then it sparks your interest, you know, in other topics. But you know, going to school for broadcast kind of stuff, that's when you're like, you obviously had some point in your life where, okay, well, news stories interest me, so government issues are going to interest me as well. So you kind of going in with that. And so probably halfway through college, which would have been like 2013. So.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. What about you, Dustin? When did you start caring? Was it when I kept telling you about Colbert Report episodes?
No. I would probably say near the end of college, I would probably say. I really started to kind of care more about, and I want to say even like, I'll say when I really started to get into it, it was more near the end of college, more along the lines of just kind of figuring out how things actually worked, like how the system actually worked. And like Aaron said, you know, where my money's going to, how things are done for certain groups and stuff like that. So yeah, that was really when it kind of clicked for me, because I think that's the thing. It was just a click.
Yeah. I would say it's when I started working in news. I never
news. Let's care about it.
I know. I never really even watched the news until I started doing it. Which is kind of wild. But I guess I always cared about it.
That was a question that I remember being asked in my pre-interview.
Yeah.
How much do you watch news? And I was, I don't have a good answer for this. So
I know.
let's just say.
Yeah. I think I was honest in mine, because I was just being interviewed as an intern at the time.
Sure.
I think I was honest. I said, you know, I get most of my news from the Colbert Report, which is like not a news story.
It's making fun of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But still, you like learned about it, you know. But yeah, no, I was just thinking back about that. It's kind of funny how I feel like your trajectory chooses you. You don't always choose it, you know. But okay, so switching topics real quick, because I know we're gonna have to bounce out. But I just wanted to mention real quick, it's something that's really exciting to me that I wanted to share with you guys. And a shout out on the podcast specifically. But our friend Blake Loggins, who we've had on before, actually a couple of times. He's the best guitarist that I know personally, and I've told him that he's my musical spirit animal, you know. I have the privilege of playing with him in 2 of the bands I'm in, not mine, but the other 2 that I'm in. And he, man, this is crazy, and I think you guys will appreciate this. So bedroom pop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bedroom pop is a thing. So like, I could literally just take this mic and start making pop music because my bedroom's behind me. And I'd be a bedroom pop artist, right? This is all stemming from Billie Eilish. She's far from the first artist to make an album in her bedroom, but she blew up so much it's just a thing now.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, bedroom pop artists are artists that do that and sound like Billie Eilish. And so there's a girl from Derby, just southeast of Wichita. She's from Derby. I don't know where she's at now, but she has a whole production team behind her. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's Evelyn something.
I don't know her name, but I know. Yeah, she's blown up.
Yeah. So she has 430 something thousand average monthly listeners on Spotify. And obviously COVID's kept tours from happening.
Sure.
But she's playing at a festival in October that will kick off a tour that follows that.
Oh, nice.
And she's assembling a tour band.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy knows Blake Loggins and submitted him to her. He pretty much has the deal. He just has to do an audition video for it.
Wow. Good for him.
Yeah, and he'll be on this national tour with this
exciting
blowing up pop artist. It's crazy.
That's
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's really awesome.
I'm just super happy for him. Obviously, I talk about the music thing a lot on here. I'm just super happy for him. And then, of course, for me, it makes me think, wow, this is possible.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, for any of your music stuff,
Yeah, it's a real possibility. And I think for musicians, that actually is the more real possibility there is becoming a live tour musician for a bigger artist.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what, most artists, not all, but most artists still have real bands when they perform live, not just backing tracks the whole time. So they're always going to need that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, man, that's so cool. So I just wanted to shout that out real quick.
Nice.
But anyway, man, it was great having you on.
Yeah, man, I'll say it has to happen again. I'll let you guys be the ones who decide that. I've had a great time. So
yeah,
it's been fun catching up.
It's been awesome, man.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, I feel like we could do 2 or 3 more of these, to be honest, and they would be awesome. Sure. I'd be more than happy to do it. In fact, I think it'd be fun to have you and Kevin on at the same time.
Oh yeah, that would be a good time.
Yeah. So it's been good. I think we had a good discussion on this, as we say at the end of every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Destiny, you got anything you want to add real quick, man?
No, man. It's Aaron, it's been amazing to have you here, really. And it's actually great first meeting you. So
exactly. It's been awesome. It's been good.
You guys have heard a lot about each other.
Yeah.
This entire time, never actually met each other.
We got the center conduit right here.
Yeah, I know. I'm the middleman. So yeah, no, this was a good one. Real quick, leave us a rating and review if you enjoy this episode. Let us know what your thoughts are. And each rating, each review helps us grow. It tells the algorithm, hey, people are reacting to this show. We should show it to more people, right? So do that and help us out. Like on Facebook and check out our website. All of that's linked in the description of this podcast. But yeah, man, once again, it's great having you on.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Thanks so much for catching up with us, and we'll catch up with you next week. Boom. All right, we're still live.
That was a good one.
Oh man, yeah.
You warned me.
Yeah, nature call. I see. This is what I saw from his legs.
Oh, that's just natural.
Oh yeah.
He was ready to go.
But yeah, man, that was a good episode, man. It's just
that was a very good episode.
I know. I felt like we kind of, left you hanging a little bit, but
man, it was fine.
Yeah, so much to talk about, and really,
it was a catch up.
Well, and I think the overall point, and if God willing, if you made it this far in the video or the live stream, you'll hear this out. The point really is the rush and the sleep deprivation, it took away because of it was forced that way, but it took away all of the noise and all of the you know outside distractions.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's what I was trying to get when I was talking about my positives. It really just kind of allowed me to focus on what's important in life because I had to. I had no other choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's what I appreciate about it. And I just think that it really created this thing where it created this mentality of growth, drive, action. That's why we had this podcast to begin with, was from that time. And then just
Mm-hmm.
being friends with people and acting on that friendship. Um, so yeah, dude, I want to give a live stream exclusive real quick.
Uh-oh.
Because there was actually an earlier time that I knew Aaron was bro.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's been in love with Cass as long as I've known him.
Facts.
So that was never an issue anyway. But I dated this crazy girl for like a while, and she got I don't even know, like she just got really drunk one night, and it was like off the wall crazy stuff happening, and she remembered me talking about how my ex before her had broken up with me and then started dating one of my best friends
Mm-hmm.
and married him. Now, this was all unspoken. At no point did she ever mention this, but we run into Aaron at the Brickyard, which, as you know, is
Oh yeah, I
Mm.
know where you're going with. This you just stirred so many memories.
yeah, where he was with his
Yeah.
now wife
Mhm.
and their
Mhm.
friends, and she started flirting with him like
Mhm.
right in
Like
front of
right
me.
in front of my wife. Well,
Man.
she would have been fiance or girlfriend at the time, and yeah, just straight up did it. And then at the same time, her and my now wife went off to like they went off and talked with whatever little group, and then they both came back, and then it was weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, for me at least. I don't know if it was weird for her, if she noticed it, but it was yeah.
that's what I love about your wife, though. Is like I think the majority of people would get like kind of pissed off in that moment, and she's
Mhm.
like, "I'm gonna kill them with kindness in the biggest way possible," right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, but at the same time, Aaron's reaction, I remember him like laughing at something that she said and like looking at me like, "What the hell's happening?"
This.
My God, right here, you know. So anyway, there's plenty of stories that we could tell.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah,
There's alcohol involved, so I need to stir every
I
once in a
know.
while.
Man, I gotta get you yard when we start playing gigs there.
Yeah, tomorrow night, shout out to John Smith. If anybody wants to go out, he's going to the Humidor. Oh, dropping stuff for my boy. Going to the Humidor tomorrow night. I'm gonna try to make it out.
Yes, dude. Yes.
Seeing what's going on.
I hope you do.
Got so many things, but yeah, it was fun last time, so might as well.
I
Why
know.
not continue it?
I was actually blown away by that place. I was very underdressed for it.
Sure.
When I was
And
there.
you, not to say, but you made some pretty good money off of the first one, right?
God, dude. I've never done that well.
Yeah.
I've never done that well. But what I'm not going into it expecting that again because
Sure.
most of it was from one table.
Sure.
But
It's nice. Like, there's
Yeah.
possibility.
oh yeah, I made that night I made $263 from
How long did you play?
3 hours.
Not bad.
That's insane, man.
I know, and that so I get paid pretty well for those gigs that are booked through my booking agent. So I was guaranteed 170, but I made 93 in tips.
It's nice.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's
That's really awesome.
and so that was only like the third time I'd been in there since they did their remodel. It wasn't just a cigar bar and you would bring your own alcohol.
Yeah.
But now it's a place where they have a nice lounge and their own bar and high class cocktails. They're a little expensive, but at the same time, I mean, you're paying for the atmosphere and being able to, you smoke your cigar and drink at the same time. So
yeah.
your
Mhm.
clientele is a little, I would say, nicer, especially since it backs up to a nicer neighborhood as well.
Yes.
They have that neighborhood has a little bit of money, and I know some people that live there that come in. So I'm like, it only makes sense too
Yeah.
at the same time.
I agree. Yeah. What's cool about it is kind of gives you an idea of what kind of establishment it is. I don't even bring my own PA. I go and I set up and I plug into their sound system, which is connected via Bluetooth to their iPad, which is connected to their, so it's a soundboard, mixer board connected to their iPad, which is connected to their speakers. And they control from their iPad the level for each room.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to do anything.
That's nice.
There's at least 3 sections of where it's at, and I sat in 2 different sections, and man, it was easy to listen to the whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was nice.
Which is awesome. One part I was talking crap about somebody, so I hope that didn't make it on the mic. But it's really cool. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
It's the Humidor Cocktail Lounge on the west side of Wichita from 9 p.m. to midnight. So it's kind of a later gig, to be honest, but it'll be fun. It'd be a great place to just hang out and chill. I already know some friends are coming out, so some friends that we both know actually. So it'll be a good time and hopefully get a good crew out there.
Cool.
But yeah, man. So this has been fun. Thank you, people who have been involved on the live stream. This counter has been a little finicky, so I'm not really sure who all was there. But we appreciate you guys.
Thank you, everybody, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll upload this over on the YouTube page as well. But yeah, this was a good one, man.
No, it's been great, man.
Cool. All right, we're gonna sign off, and I'll say it to you guys as well. Thanks so much for catching up with us, and we'll catch up with you next week. Yeah.